coming up with excuses because honestly, they don't matter. If you really think about it in the grand scheme of things. So that's what I want to talk about today. We're really good at making excuses. I don't know how. I don't understand. Like I said, I don't have the right tools. I hurt my back jumping and yelling at the hogs. Lots of different things. I looked on Facebook. If you don't have Facebook, you ain't missing much. But when you get on Facebook and you wait to do some of the other stuff, you'll find every now and then they'll have these like little posts that'll be like lists, like top 5 things of this or this or that. And I found one the other day that it was bosses telling the funniest excuses that employees had ever come up with. And I've heard some pretty good ones, but these were some good ones on here. The usuals were on there. Doctor's appointments, sick child, death in the family. But there was some unique ones. There were some pretty funny ones. One was this. My cat is going through a tough time. The hazmat crew won't let me leave my house. My grandma passed. Now, that ain't funny, but the little sub deal said the same one passed 3 times in 6 months. Yeah. And then this is my favorite. When I got up this morning, I accidentally took 2 X-Lax with my antidepressant. I can't get off the toilet, but I feel good about it. So anyway, we have lots of excuses. I think in the Christian world, we can find all sorts of excuses not to obey God's voice. It's the preacher's job. Can I get an amen? It's not my gift. I've already served. Let somebody else. I'm too busy. I'm too tired, or too old, or too young. It's been said those who specialize in excuses rarely go far. Ben Franklin wrote, he that is good at making excuses is seldom good at much else. In the text here we're about to read in Jeremiah, he had every excuse ready when God called him to be a prophet. His excuses are often our excuses for not reacting to God's voice when he calls. But with every excuse Jeremiah has, God has a promise. Who knows that today? God has a promise. So let's read this. If you would, please stand for the reading of the Word. I'm going to read. It's going to be a little bit, so just hang tight. If you start getting weary, just kind of grab on the person next to you, and we'll get through it here. Jeremiah 1, I'm going to start in verse 4. It says, "The word of the Lord came to me, saying, Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. Ah, sovereign Lord," I said. This is Jeremiah speaking. "I do not know how to speak. I am only a child." But the Lord said to me, "Do not say I am only a child. You must go to everyone I send you to and say whatever I command you. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you and will rescue you, declares the Lord." Then the Lord reached out his hand and touched my mouth and said to me, "Now I have put my words in your mouth. See, today I appoint you over nations and kingdoms to uproot and tear down, to destroy and overthrow, to build and to plant." The word of the Lord came to me. "What do you see, Jeremiah?" "I see the branch of an almond tree," I replied. The Lord said to me, "You have seen correctly, for I am watching to see that my word is fulfilled." The word of the Lord came to me again. "What do you see?" "I see a boiling pot tilting away from the north," I answered. The Lord said to me, "From the north, disaster will be poured out on all who live in the land." I'm going to jump to 16 now. He says in 16, "I will pronounce my judgments on my people because of their wickedness in forsaking me, in burning incense to other gods, and in worship what their hands have made. Get yourself ready, stand up, and say to them whatever I command you. Do not be terrified by them, or I will terrify you before them." Let's go to the Lord in prayer one time. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just come to you today so thankful for you. So thankful that every time we come up with a reason why, you have a calling for us to tell us why to. Lord, right now we ask that you just bless us, bless each and every individual here, and let your words be something that fulfill our life today, that we leave here different than we were when we came in. Everybody says, amen, amen and amen. Lord, you may be seated. Jesus. The Bible said here Jeremiah was called to be a prophet to the nations. His dad and his grandpa. Who knows, back then your name was a big deal. Like today your name's still a big deal, but back then your literal name was a big deal. Like if you had the last name of Smith or Jones or something like that, all the Smiths kind of turned up and said, "Yes, ma'am." But no, if you had a certain last name, then you had a job that went along with your last name, right? The Smiths would have been the builders, and the Joneses would have been the farmers, and the Feltons would have been the homeless people probably. I don't know. We'd have been something. But everybody, their last name was something, their name was something. What their dad and their grandpa did is probably what they were going to do. That was just kind of how things worked. So Jeremiah's dad and his grandfather, his dad before him, his grandfather, they were priests. Okay? But here Jeremiah says in Jeremiah 1:5 that he was called to be a prophet to the nations. A prophet was a chosen spokesperson from God who declares God's word to the people. Being a prophet was more demanding than being a priest. The priest's duties were predictable. Everything was written down in law. The prophet never knew from one day to the next what the Lord would have him to say or do. Priests dealt with rituals, sacrifices, offerings, and services, whereas the prophet tried to reach and change hearts daily everywhere. Priests came from special tribes and families, often born with a respect and clout. Prophets had to prove themselves. Priests were paid from the offerings of the people. Prophets had no guaranteed income. Who knows today Jesus was called to be a prophet? He traveled from place to place, challenging people to change so that their future was heaven. Jesus spoke to the hearts of people. Most did not accept him, but those that did were forever different. Who knows that today? God may assign you a tough task, but his call keeps us going when we don't want to. I'm going to repeat that one more time. God's call is what keeps us going when we don't want to anymore. God's call carries us when we're tired of walking. Well, I tell you what, I've done this for 25 years. I've done the same thing. I've taught this, or I've sang this, or I've been a part of this, and I'm just tired. Has anybody ever thought that I'm just tired? I've done this for so long. Who knows that calling is what keeps you going? When self and when flesh says, I'm more out. It's the calling that keeps you going today. I chose you before I love this. We have the promise of God's purpose. I chose you before I formed you in the womb. I set you apart before you were born. That's Jeremiah 1:5. The verb know means more than to simply be aware of something. I love this. The word know here means it carries the idea of recognition of the worth and purpose of him who is known. So when he says, I know Jeremiah, it means more than I've seen him before. Right? When he says, I've known you, it don't mean that I ran into you at Bill's. I seen you at the Red Box at DG. Can I get an amen? All right. I seen you there. It means more than that. It means that I know you deeply, intimately. I understand your way of thinking. I know your heart. I know your fears. I know your weaknesses. I know your strengths. I know your faith. I know everything about you. I know the number of hairs on your head. Are you with me? He's saying, I truly know you. I know you better than you know yourself. It's a recognition of worth and of purpose. God knew Jeremiah, chose Jeremiah, and appointed Jeremiah. He was known, handpicked, and commissioned. Talk about useful. Like Jeremiah and Jesus, we need to accept our future isn't ours. We are God's. He has a distinct plan and purpose for our lives. I'm going to repeat that again. We are God's. We are His. He has a distinct plan. He has a distinct purpose, and that is His for us. He knows us. He doesn't going to put us, I've talked about this many times, I never will forget it. It was 2006. Kendall was a thriving junior on the Melbourne Bearcat basketball team who loved to shoot the ball and hated everything else. And we were playing Salem, and there was this kid, never will forget him, still don't like him, Chad Willett. He killed us every time we played him. And when I said I didn't like him, I didn't like him as a player, didn't know him any other way. But I never will forget, we're playing, and somehow Kendall gets switched over on him. Coach immediately starts screaming, foul him! And I'm like, oh, he's wanting me to rough him up a little. I know what he's wanting me to do. He's wanting me to get at him. So I go up there and I try to grab him. I think I whiffed the first time. And then I kind of get over there and I foul him. They call the play. And everybody goes back. And I'm like, all right, Coach, why did I foul him? He said, because he was about to blow by you if you didn't. Coach knew me. Are you with me? He's seen me run. He's seen me jump. He's seen me play defense. She thinks that's funny. She said, I've seen you run. I've not seen you. No one here seen you run. I promise. But he's seen me do all those things. He knew me athletically. So he realized I was in a bad position. Are you with me? Today, if Jesus has called you, He knows you. and He will never put you in a bad position. If He's called you to do it, He knows better than you know yourself that you can do it. Are you with me? He knows. He will never. Jesus is never going to set anybody up for failure. That ain't His game. That ain't His heart. So if He's called you to do it, He knows you can do it. He knows you can. He don't think you can. He knows you can. Why doubt Him today? Glory to God. So cowboy Mike is kind of sliding around on the old ear here. Been chased up here for him. I think I'm kidding. It kind of hurts. I ain't lying. Everybody just got to sit quiet. I'm struggling up here. Pastor appreciation. Nobody come help me, but it's all right. I'll be okay. Tied up here. Glory to God. I remember number 2 excuse. I'm just going to go forward. Number 2 excuse is this: I'm not good at it. But I protested, oh no, Lord God, look, I don't know how to speak since I am only a youth. Jeremiah felt inadequate as a speaker. Moses had the same excuse in Exodus 4:10. When I first got into ministry, I'll be honest, I felt very inadequate. I felt the call, and when I was seeking a position in church, I was a young cat, 21, I guess, young, and then I didn't have this beard, so I looked about 7. When you're 5'6" and got rosy red cheeks and a baby face, you don't look very old. So I remember I would go and I would talk to pastors and talk to people, and I'd say, hey, I'm feeling the calling. And first 3 things they asked me, always, do you play an instrument? No. No, nothing. Can you sing? I can sing. It ain't good, but I can sing. And then they always went to this one, do you like kids? And I had a 3-month-old, I wasn't for sure about it. I don't know, he was crying a lot, and I wasn't, no, not really like kids. No, but I mean, that was kind of the thing. So I felt like I was kind of in a place where I felt the Lord wanted me to do something in my life. I felt a calling, but I didn't know what it was. And, everybody was asking me, they were trying to put me in these spots, and I can't do that. I don't know what this is or that is. I can't do that. And finally, I did get an opportunity in youth ministry, and the Lord blessed and did things. But I realized this in my ministry early on, especially when I was trying to find my spot. If that makes sense, trying to find my place, is this. I wrote it down here because I wanted to say it correctly here. God has a way of overcoming weakness and our insufficiency. But I have realized my inadequacy has caused me to rely upon God more. That makes sense? When I felt like this is not me, this ain't my role, when I was doing youth and I'm sitting there and all these kids smell and it's just, it is what it is, and I'm sitting there, and then they listen to different kinds of music than I do. They like different kinds of things than I do. I was pastoring a church in Wilford. So I liked sports, they liked rodeo. You know what I mean? And I don't know anything about rodeo. If I went to the Swifton rodeo, and if you were there, I don't know anything about rodeo. I don't know. But so it was culturally different. I was different, but we succeeded because God was in control of all of it. Does that make sense? It worked. I had a love for them. They had a love for me. It boomed. We had revival. People got saved. It was awesome. But it wasn't because we were alike. It had nothing to do with my abilities, if you would. It had everything to do with just God being in the middle of it, and He overcome my inadequacies. He overcome the cultural difference. He overcome all that stuff because, craziest thing, He's in control. Are you with me? So that's what's great about our calling is where we feel like we're not good enough, we probably aren't. I know that's kind of negative, but it's true. We, in self, probably aren't. But luckily, He makes up any kind of inadequacy in our lives. He fulfills that. He takes care of that. Glory to God. His glory manifests in our flaws. Today, I wrote that down. Our talent may appear less than needed, but God always equips those He calls. We have the promise of God's provision. Jeremiah 1:9, then the Lord reached out His hand, touched my mouth, and told me, I have now filled your mouth with my words. Jesus experiences this touch following His baptism, and God spoke, this is my Son, whom I'm well pleased. God uses the most unlikely to shake a church. I'm going to repeat that again. God uses the most unlikely to shake a church today. We realize that. to shake a church, a community, or a nation. Never underestimate the power when God touches somebody. Well, I knew them before. They weren't real great. Or I know some of their family. Never, ever, I don't care if they're a child in children's church right now, to, anybody. The roughest background, the whatever it is. When God touches them, never put limitations on them. Never underestimate them. Because I promise you, what He touches is good. Glory to God. Excuse number 3, time is bad. If this was yesterday, I'd have done it. I'd have been all over it. Or tomorrow, I'll do it. But time is bad right now. Jeremiah said to God, I am only a youth. If you come to me a little later on, I'll probably be all over this. I'm just a little young right now, a little immature, not ready yet, Most scholars believe Jeremiah was around 20 to 25 at the time of his calling. Yet his reply is not so much revealing his age as much as his feeling of inferiority and inexperience. He was intimidated by the size of the task at which he had been called. Jeremiah's problem wasn't an age thing. He really wasn't, I don't think he was really all that worried about his age. He was worried, he's seen the task ahead of him and thought, I'm not ready. Timing's off. That's big, I'm little. Have you ever felt that way today? That's big, I'm little. That's hard, I'm not. I'm weak. Today, who knows this today? It kind of keeps going back to this a little bit, kind of broken records, but it's so true. The Lord knows you. He knew Jeremiah. God's call may come at what we may feel is inopportune, but He never sends out His servant alone. We have a promise of God's presence. That may be big, and I may be little, but God is bigger than anything. And He's with me. I love that. I'm a people person. I like being around people. I don't like being by myself. People used to kind of pick on me and stuff and laugh at me. And it's mostly family. But because I did not move out of my house until I married Sarah. I did for a spell. I got my own place, and I didn't like being by myself. It's boring. The bills and stuff were just another negative, but mostly, I just didn't like it. I didn't like being by myself. I'm not great company, and I like being around people and laughing and talking. So I usually either stayed at friends' houses or my grandparents, and like I said, food and stuff was also there. But today, who knows that you don't have to ever be alone in your spiritual walk in life. You may say, I'm not alone. You may say, okay, I'm not alone. Well, good thing I don't have to be alone because I've always got Him. Now, there's times in my life I feel kind of alone. I feel like, man, this is big and I'm here. But I'm always reminded He's with me. He is with me. In your calling in life, you'll never be by yourself. Do you know that today? In your deepest, darkest, scariest hour, when everything's going wrong, you've always got somebody there. He's omnipotent. He's everywhere. You understand that today? He's with you all the time. He's with you all the time. And He's with me all the time. He's not humanistic. Sometimes that's bigger than us. We can't really recognize that, but He's always with us. Today, He was always with Jeremiah. Glory to God. It says, then the Lord said to me, do not say I am only a youth, for you will go to everyone I send you to and speak whatever I tell you. Do not be afraid of anyone, for I will go with you to deliver you. This is the Lord's declaration. Jesus felt the same presence. He and the Father were one. He could go on, and because God walked with Him, what a difference it makes knowing we are not alone. We have a traveling companion. Isn't that good? Anybody ever said, hey, I want you to go somewhere with me so I don't fall asleep driving? Really, like, hey, I'm going to ride with you. Will you ride with me? That way, I have somebody to talk to. It's going to be late, and I don't want to fall asleep. Anybody ever said, I'm sure we've done that, right? That's what Jesus is in your life. That's what the Holy Ghost is. He's that guy sitting with you, riding with you, and when you begin to spiritually dot off, He says, hey, I'm here. Hey, wait, let's keep going straight. Let's keep going. Let's keep going towards that calling. Let's follow that calling. Come on, hey, get kind of roads. It's getting late. It's getting dark. Hey, don't wake up. That's what He is. That's handy, isn't it? That's nice. That's nice. God has called you today. I believe that. Glory to God. I want to close with this today. I thank everybody very much for today. It means a lot to us. This is about our third one, and it always means so much to to be recognized, but I want to recognize a few people for their calling. Okay, the Bible talks about in Isaiah that Christ is a nail in a sure place. He's a nail in a sure place. I was putting up pictures in the house and hanging mirrors and stuff. That's what Sarah, Dad wouldn't come do that for me, so I had to do it. And I get out the little booklet that no real man ever reads, but I have to because I'm that way. And it says, make sure you hang these a certain way. And you have two options, how to hang these pictures of these heavy mirrors and stuff. And one is, and I can't work these things properly. And I may need to hit up Dunkin' Lumber, I don't know, but one was with a stud finder, but every time I have one of them, it just goes off like crazy. I don't know, maybe it's something wrong with it. I don't understand, but I mean, it goes, whoa, what's going on? And it don't work, I don't understand. And it's no stud finder, I don't know what it's supposed to find, but it goes off every time I have it. So anyway, the other end, it's a personal problem I have, but like I said, it may be Dunkin' Lumber will have some better ones. There's a plug for y'all. But anyways, the other option that I can do, because I'm not hindered in any way, is it said take a little nail and you just put the nail through the sheetrock until you feel the stud, right? And that's where the stud is. Then you can hang your heavy mirrors and your TV mounts and stuff like that, right? So anyways, I was doing this and I got to thinking about this, and I think this is very much so. Who knows, just like that, just like those studs in those walls, just like those things, the reason you put them there is because stuff will last there. It can handle the load today. It can handle the load. The Bible says Jesus is a nail in a sure place. He can handle the load. Are you with me? He can handle the load. But today, we talked about mimicking Christ, and we talked about how we're the hands and feet. We've been talking about that for a while on Wednesday nights and stuff, and we've been talking about that. We did a series on it. I don't know about. I mean, so just as He is a nail in a sure place, should we not resemble that and be sure places for people, right? And I have that in you guys. And I want to recognize a few people. I want to recognize a lot of people right now. And that's it. Deacons, would you stand up, please, right now? I don't know if I tell you who you were. These guys right here are my nail in a sure place. That the Lord is using in a mighty way. I want to tell you, I've been here now 3 years. These guys, and Lane isn't able to be here, but he'll be here tonight. He's here every time he's able. And Perry, he's working as well. He's the same way. But these five guys here, I guarantee you, if I ever need anything, I can call them. And I know they'll be here. And can I tell you this? Our jobs, since I've been here, have not always been as easy as saying, let's put new carpet down. We've had some tough times. We've had some times, I've seen these guys cry. I've seen these guys laugh. I've seen these guys pray. I've seen these guys rejoice. And they do it not because of any kind of glory in self. They do it all for the Lord and for this church. And for that, I am truly blessed. And I want to say thank you all very much. And this church is truly blessed to have godly guys like this. Let's give them a hand. And Randy also does the financial things. And he's never allowed to quit, ever. Yeah, like, we'll still take it to him. So he's an absolute blessing and appreciation. I'm going to have all our Sunday school teachers and our music people. Would y'all please stand right now? James, I thought you were supposed to stand up. You do not realize how important your role is in this church. What I do right now is made so much easier because of you people. Because I can always know when I walk out here, the anointing is already beginning to flow. The Spirit's already beginning to move, whether it's in Sunday school class or it's in music. I've never seen any music people take it more serious for the Lord. I'm just going to tell you that. They practice, they're here, and once again, they don't do it because they want to be seen. They do it strictly for Jesus. And boy, y'all make my job so much easier. Can I tell you that? Y'all make my position here easier. I never have to, I always know that the Spirit's already been beginning to move, and then I just get to come up here and speak Jesus, and it just works. So because of you, I appreciate your dedication. Y'all are truly a blessing. Y'all are a sure place in our lives, and I appreciate you. Let's give them all. One more person before I begin kind of going into the information. But I'm not going to make her stand, but my wife. She is my surest place in the whole wide world. And she hears me gripe, she hears me whine, she hears me brag, she hears me do all these things, and she always gives me exactly what I need. Sometimes I don't like what I need, but she always gives me what I need, and she's a blessing. She holds the home together when I'm out doing what the Lord's called me to do, whether it be at the dealership or here or wherever it is, and she is amazing, and she's a blessing to everybody, I promise you. I could not be anything even close to what I am without her, and I know y'all probably realize that. So thank y'all so much, and let's give her a hand. Everybody stand now. We're going to close. Once again, I thank you so much for the privilege to do it. I love it. We built a house here, and I just want to share this. We didn't build a house here because we want a new house. We built a house here because this is home, and you are home. You guys are home for us, and we wanted to sow into this community that is so much sowed into us, and we just appreciate you guys so very much. Go back to the nail in a sure place. A nail in a sure place, usually things nowadays are hung off of it, right? Like art or mirrors or something like that. And I began to think about this. And as I put that nail in that stud and hang that thing there, most of the time, why are things hung up? They're pretty, right? You want to show something off in your house. Design, style, something like that. Maybe it's a memory picture. Pictures usually bring joy. They bring all these different things, but they always have a unique quality. They really set the place, they set that wall, or they set, whatever they're there, they kind of set it off, right? That's why we hang them, that's why we do it. Today, can I tell you that Jesus is the nail in a sure place, and He has hung you right here. He's hung you in this church because you give something special to this church that no one else can give. Are you with me today? You set this place off. And today, I'm so very happy that you are here. I never want you to ever recognize your calling today. What you mean to this church, what you mean to this place, what you mean to this people, what you mean to me. Today is very important. And I just want to thank everybody so much. And I want to thank one more person, and then we're going to go eat, and I will be first in line. It's kind of hard words. I don't know if y'all know that. I want to thank our new youth leader. Hey, how cool is this? We were looking, we're having bake sales, we're doing all these things, we're having kids, and it's all because of her, and I just want to thank her for that. Show her appreciation today, because she has done a great job, great job. And she's busy. She's busy, got a lot of stuff going on, but she's accepted this position, she's accepted this calling by God, and she's running with it despite every excuse she can come up with, and to that we are blessed, and we thank her. All them smelly kids, she don't care. Glory to God. But yeah, she comes in directly behind me. I'm just saying, there is a chain of command there behind me. Let's give her a big hand. Isn't God good? Amen? He's got a calling for each one of us. Ain't that right? Let's make sure.